YouTube show! Sorry, so sorry. Couldn't make it to the studio today because of all the National Guard. Interesting how, until ICE and the military showed up, it was perfectly safe and easy to go downtown. Almost like there wasn't a problem until they made it one. Anyway, here's some news. I don't know why, but I kind of feel like talking about ICE. So let's. ICE. Cops, but somehow worse. Just go, okay? Get out of here. I'm trying to do my thing, okay? I'm not hungry. Just get out of here. I love you. I'm sorry. Now I feel bad. She's in town for only a week. Wanted to surprise me. Her and Greg. So, to catch everyone up, last week, ICE began to show up in Los Angeles to conduct raids and scoop people up, along with honorary ICE agent Dr. Phil, a title we should continue to use for him until he dies. The people of Los Angeles, noticing their neighbors being kidnapped, began to protest and revolt. Donald Trump, being a very good president who knows how to unite the country and de-escalate situations, called in the big guns to keep the peace, and also maybe crash on your couch if you got room. He also claimed the city was under siege, but weirdly isn't invoking the Insurrection Act, but rather potentially illegally invoking a different, more obscure law instead. Perhaps because the Insurrection Act requires actual evidence of the city being under siege. Maybe he just meant that Steven Seagal lives here, which also actually isn't true, I think. 5 Pinocchios for Mr. Trump! Anyway, sure seems like he wants to do a martial law and give ICE a reason to be even worse and more violent. But this video isn't about that, or these specific raids, or how big of a tool Dr. Phil is. After all, this will be and has been just one of many stories of civil unrest and general chaos caused by a group of masked and often ununiformed dudes going around kidnapping people from random cities in America. Unless you're deemed useful by Trump and his rich friends, of course, specifically in red states and rural areas, until he changes his mind again at some point. It's hard to keep up. There was a possible political assassination or two today, a military parade, countless protests, a war. By the time we finish filming this, we all might be some kind of mutant Mothmen. And while we will surely have multiple videos about these crises, for the purposes of this video, we are going to ask a few straightforward questions. What is ICE? And where did it come from? Who are ICE? And is this normal? And when I say normal, I of course mean normal for America, a country that isn't really normal. So let's start with what's new with ICE. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been around for a little while, which we'll get to, but what is happening now that's making everyone way more pissed off and scared? For one, and perhaps the most basic and metaphorical example of the larger problem, ICE didn't always wear masks to hide their identity. That is a new trend, one that the current ICE director Todd Lyons claims is to protect the agents themselves.
People are out there taking photos of the names, their faces, and posting them online with death threats to their family and themselves. So I'm sorry if people are offended by them wearing masks, but I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line and their family on the line because people don't like what immigration enforcement is.
Yeah, it must be scary when people go after you and your family, Todd. I'm not for threatening the lives of anyone, not even Greg. But I feel like people have been threatening cops for a while now. It's kind of part of the job. People have been making songs threatening cops for decades, good songs often. You walk around with a gun telling people what to do, one imagines those people would want some accountability for those gun-carrying people, and to identify who is doing that. And some people go too far, which doesn't mean we shouldn't have that right. Anyway, wah, says Todd. Todd is sad that their agents might have their personal lives disrupted because people are mad that they are breaking into homes without a warrant. That is new, by the way. It used to be that ICE couldn't just smash your door down, but they found a new fun way around that. Specifically, Trump is abusing an old wartime law, aka the Alien Enemies Act, to game the system so that ICE agents can bust right into homes if they suspect there's a gang member inside. His reasoning here is that the Tren de Aragua gang is an invading force, which doesn't really make sense, and makes less sense since ICE is seemingly considering everyone from Venezuela a member, or rather, anyone existing in a building they suspect has Tren de Aragua inside of it. Doesn't really matter who you are. ICE has actually created a point system they use to determine if you are in that gang or not. I guess once you pass a certain high score, you get booted out like a kid with too many tickets at an arcade. Some of the things that will get you points are, and this is real life, communicating with any known gang members, having any tattoos or clothing they've decided is associated with the Tren de Aragua gang, or being in any group photos that also have gang members in them. Boy, if we did this with other crimes, then Elon Musk would be gonzo by now, huh? Certainly the actual current president would be. You also get a lot of points for saying you're a gang member, either verbally or in writing. I know that sounds like a slam dunk, but this includes, quote, lawful interception of communications, meaning that you could jokingly say you're a gang member in a text and probably get nailed. And of course, this has a snowball effect, right? One of the things that gets you tagged is if a cop or witness IDs you as a gang member. But say they are wrong. Well, that doesn't just affect you now, but anyone you live or hang out with or take pictures with, and so on. You could, in theory, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon this all the way to anyone you wanted, including Kevin Bacon. Also, and this is pretty key, even if they were a gang member, none of this makes sense because gangs aren't the same as wartime invaders. And even if they were, which they're not, it still doesn't make sense because everyone has the right to due process. Period. No. Exclamation point! The Alien Enemies Act still requires due process. The Supreme Court, assuming they are listened to, have made that clear, because how else do you know if they are criminals? You have to do the process to find that out. That's why they call it that. No, it's not. Shut up, Cody. Currently, many of the Venezuelans who were sent to the prison in El Salvador had no criminal record besides being in the country without documentation. A civil offense. Oh wow, I guess having a point system is bad. In terms of whether Trump can legally use the Alien Enemies Act in general, the Supreme Court seems to be avoiding the issue, opting instead to rule on the logistical aspects around the bigger question. Probably because they're cowards, maybe? I don't know. They've also been walking into elementary schools and churches, ICE, not the Supreme Court, which isn't new, by the way. Turns out that Trump didn't need some fancy wartime loophole to do that. They could just always do that, but had an Obama-era policy saying they wouldn't. Trump simply undid that policy, which perhaps was a good policy to have. Even if you like Trump and think that gangs are a problem in the United States, certainly the purpose of detaining them would be to make the streets safer and more peaceful. So how does this achieve that?
Definitely a chaotic scene on Eureka Street Thursday as Worcester police and ICE agents detained a mother and her 16-year-old daughter. That girl's face slammed into the ground as she was taken into custody. They have not been identified. Worcester police said officers were dispatched to the area for a report of a federal agent surrounded by about 24 people. When police arrived, they say the teen daughter was holding a newborn baby in her arms and standing in front of the ICE vehicle that was trying to leave with their mother inside.
That is the story of Roseanne Ferreira de Oliveira, a Worcester resident who... Worcester? No way. Do I have to? A Worcester resident who got a phone call from her daughter saying that she, along with her 3-month-old baby, had been pulled over by ICE, who were now going to arrest them. They needed Roseanne to come and get the baby because they were being detained. And when Roseanne went outside to help, ICE arrested her instead. The entire situation was a ruse to get her outside. Her kid and grandkid were bait, and the daughter and neighborhood reacted accordingly. The way you'd react if someone came into your quiet street and kidnapped someone you knew. Not a gang member, not even in selfies with a gang member. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Roseanne was a, quote, violent criminal illegal alien with a prior arrest for, quote, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. That weapon? A phone charging cable. She got into a fight with her daughter with a phone charging cable. And because of that, ICE came and slammed her daughter on the ground and arrested everyone, including a bystander who got involved, while everyone else screamed and cried and tried to help. Justice served. Justice served. So much better than someone hitting someone with a phone charging cable. You get it, right? It's like evil. Perhaps if Los Angeles or other cities were actually overrun by gang crime like in a RoboCop or a Death Wish, I'd actually be concerned with that. But currently, the only gang causing trouble is ICE. They make everything worse, including crime. We'll talk about this more in another episode, but undocumented immigrants are extremely useful when it comes to helping police deal with gangs and other crimes. They report crimes, are witnesses to crimes, even step in and stop crimes themselves. Imagine if you're in a domestic situation or being mugged or getting murdered, and the only witness is undocumented. Don't you want that person to feel safe reporting that crime? Stepping in to help? Even in less dramatic situations, ICE is objectively making things worse, even for themselves. Allegedly, they've started questioning the citizenship of the people working at hotels they are staying at. People making their food and cleaning their rooms. You think the person making your eggs Benedict is gonna appreciate that? You know how similar eggs can look to spit? You want to detain the person cleaning after you? Even if you have zero morals. That is logistically stupid, right? It's like sawing the branch you're sitting on. This is stupid and evil and making everything bad, and it's only going to become worse.
The Arizona Mirror reports that Lyons made the comments at a border security expo in Phoenix. He said his goal would be a system like Amazon in which trucks round up immigrants for deportation across the U.S.
Poor Todd doesn't want people to harass his agents while they do their Amazon-style truck deportations. Hey, maybe make it a train system, Todd. So very efficient. I should note that Todd isn't the Emperor Palpatine of this operation. He's not Vader. He's not a Grand Moff. I don't think he's even on the Council of Moffs. He's probably like Tarl Sokoli or Captain Phasma. You remember Captain Phasma? You remember that knife map that led to the Death Star? The fuck was that about? Todd, what was that about? Todd's unimportant is my point. He's like a Star Wars movie that everyone forgot existed. Todds will come and go. So after the break, we're gonna talk about the bigger beast, the Vexus under the sand that we randomly find and then magically heal because I guess we have that ability now. Also, they fly now. Okay, enjoy the ads, or don't. Friends, you know as well as I do how hard it can be to stay up to date with government health recommendations. Masks or no masks, vaccines or no vaccines. Is Sprite still legal? Did they rename it Starry, or is that a different soda? Who's to say? Fortunately, I know exactly what's coming out of the Department of Health and Human Services these days because of Ground News, which you can access via the QR code on the screen. Ground News is a website and an app we sought out to sponsor us. They gather news from every conceivable direction so you can get the headlines and see how those different directions are trying to spin it. For example, how HHS released their big Maha report with a bunch of citations clearly made up by ChatGPT. Or how the CDC is still recommending COVID vaccines for healthy kids despite RFK Jr. saying he didn't want that. Or how HHS is canceling a huge contract with Moderna to develop a bird flu vaccine. Wow, it sure seems like the folks over there don't know what they're doing. But with Ground News, I can keep it all simple and straight and stop worrying about who's canceling which life-saving medical interventions. So get all the headlines at ground.news/SMN. With that link, you will save 40% off unlimited access. Ground News' factuality chart will help you know which sources are trustworthy and which are probably using the entity to invent the news. What they're doing is so very important right now, so I encourage you to go to ground.news/SMN to get 40% off unlimited access for yourself or someone you know. The link is in the description. The story is in the fridge.
Friends, the world of film and television is filled with depictions of uncomfortable beds. Whatever rock the Flintstones slept on, that flat metal thing that comes out of the wall in Cloud City during The Empire Strikes Back. Many others, I'm sure. But don't think that means that you have to sleep on an uncomfortable mattress. That's silly! Because, my friends, there's Lisa. My Lisa mattress has improved my sleep so much that I'm now sleeping like, well, let's see. What's the character that sleeps really well? Is Haley Joel Osment's mom at the end of AI? I don't know. I think she goes into some perfect forever sleep at the end of that. Spoilers for AI. Maybe. The point is, sleep good. Lisa uses the highest quality materials and they meticulously design and assemble their mattresses in America for exceptional comfort and support. With a Lisa mattress, you'll feel like, I don't know, Andy when he's got his favorite toy with him. Man, there really aren't as many good sleepers in movies as I originally thought. Anyway, delivery is free, returns are easy, and you have 100 nights to try out your mattress in the comfort of your home. So go to lisa.com for 25% off mattresses plus get an extra $50 off with promo code MORENEWS, exclusive for our audience. That's LEESA.com, promo code MORENEWS for 25% off your mattress. That's a big deal. Plus an extra $50 off. Lisa.com, promo code MORENEWS. Remember, no matter who you are, there is a Lisa just for you. Even if you're... What's a character that never sleeps? Woody, Buzz? Do they sleep? So many questions. Benny, you love your Lisa mattress, don't you? He said yes, obviously. Good boy, Benny. Give me 5. That's fine, too.
This summer, I'm finally doing what I've always wanted. Getting a waterproof tent and camping out in my parents' backyard. Something I never got to do when I was 10, 11, 12, or other ages. All of the ages. They never let me do it. I'm not even telling them that I'm doing it. And I just got rid of the only thing that was going to hold me back. An outrageous wireless bill. That's why I made the switch to Mint Mobile. Because for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So I can be talking and texting all night while my parents are upstairs watching ABC's The Practice. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. So this year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/morenews. That's mintmobile.com/morenews. Freak out your parents and make them think you're moving back home with Mint Mobile. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time, new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I didn't say that last part fast enough, but imagine I said it really, really fast. It's delicious. It's delicious! Thank you! Hello. She's wonderful. Unlike ice, which is the opposite of wonderful, we were talking about Todd and how he sucks. And so we should probably explore who and what ICE is. Because sure, I'm genuinely against violence or threats, and I want Todd Lyons and the rest of the senior ICE officials, Madison Sheehan, John Fear, Marcos Charles, Derek Gordon, Susan C. Dunbar, Jennifer M. Fenton, Charles Wall, and Jennifer Cleary to be safe and granted the restraint that they are not granting others. I really do. But at a certain point, these people need to be looked in the eye. Perhaps some of them need to stand trial someday. They all need to be known, just like Donald Trump or Stephen Miller or Kristi Noem. They can quit ICE and denounce this at any time, and they aren't. So they must all like this. They must like that ICE has detained over 51,000 people, with only 30% of them having criminal convictions. According to the American Immigration Council, 8,000 of them have literally no criminal record at all. And that number balloons to 22,000 if you include people detained by other agencies who are in ICE detention. And even more only have minor offenses like traffic violations. They must like, or are at least okay with, the fact that 9 people that we know of have died in ICE custody since Trump took office, some under questionable circumstances. For the record, 12 people died last year, which is also bad, but we're already up to 9 in half of that time. After all, these detention centers are absolute garbage holes. Or rather, the ones in the United States are, because we're also sticking people into El Salvador prisons with limited or no access to lawyers and family and all kinds of health hazards. And so Todd and the rest must be okay with all of this. But as I said, Todd is just a small cog in a larger machine, a waft of stink in the big glass bowl of turds. And when talking about how ICE came to be, it would be irresponsible not to point fingers at some of the bigger turds in that bowl.
Today, dozens of federal departments and agencies, as well as state and local governments, have responsibilities affecting homeland security. These efforts must be coordinated.
There he is! There's our guy. For all you youngs, it should be noted that ICE is pretty new. Originally the Bureau of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE was an offshoot of the Department of Homeland Security, which was officially in operation starting in March of 2003. Finn Wolfhard is older than ICE. Heck, Finn Wolfhard was conceived 8 months before ICE was. It is absolutely not a necessary or fundamental part of our country. Nor is the right-wing antagonism toward immigration. In fact, before 9/11, a chunk of GOP lawmakers, including A1, George W. Bush, was in favor of creating legal pathways for immigrants. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't all unicorn farts, but there was a time when this country was on a far different trajectory than it is now. It's almost as if 9/11 was successful in destabilizing the United States by accelerating a descent into fascism through paranoia, trauma, and xenophobia. But who can say? Maybe we need to do a video about George Bush and the damage he caused, he said, foreshadowingly. For the sake of this conversation, what's important to note isn't just that the Department of Homeland Security was formed, but that it was formed poorly. Keep in mind, this is considered the largest governmental restructuring since World War II. 22 agencies were stuck under a single cabinet position. And at the time, many people pointed out that the process by which these agencies were picked seemed flawed and confusing. For example, neither the FBI nor CIA's anti-terrorism departments were included, nor was the Executive Office for Immigration Review, which oversees immigration court judges. That's significant because the agency that provides immigration prosecutors was rolled into DHS. Also, the Secret Service is under Homeland Security, which is odd, but in fairness, it was previously under the Treasury Department, so nothing there makes sense. And speaking of nonsense designed to hurt us, there was, of course, another legislative response to 9/11 we should probably talk about.
Today, the president signed a big new anti-terrorism bill that would expand the government's ability to track down terrorists, but at some cost.
Oh, I wonder what that cost is. I'm sure it's nothing important. Kids, the thing you gotta know about post-9/11 America is that almost everyone lost their entire goddamn minds. According to polls, a slim majority of Americans thought it was necessary for some civil liberties to be ceded in order to defeat terrorists. Xenophobia and racism skyrocketed, specifically on the right. So we did a Patriot Act, which allowed law enforcement to collect our records records and search our homes without notification, so long as they could prove they thought we were doing a terrorism, which at the time simply meant that you looked Arab or Asian. There was a fucking registration system where mostly Muslim men were required to be interviewed and fingerprinted. From that program, only 11 people were ultimately found to have connections to terrorists. Out of 85,000. There were also ICE workplace raids, which are largely seen as ineffective and, in fact, are often triggered by disgruntled employees or employers tipping off agents for their own personal reasons. Much like how today, you could probably just tell ICE your neighbor is a gang member with no evidence and get them disappeared if they were brown enough. So that answers the question I asked earlier. Where did ICE come from? As for who is ICE, like, besides those dipshits I named earlier, there are about 6,000 deportation officers and 7,000 special agents employed by ICE. And yes, we should perhaps abolish the jobs of those people. Take it from radical Bill Kristol. But to actually abolish ICE, it's important to know that ICE isn't just those jobs. Thanks to the Patriot Act, ICE is everything. It's multiple agencies because every law enforcement agency has the ability to share information with each other. They work directly with cops around the country to ensure that if an immigrant gets arrested for any reason, ICE will know about it. Who is ICE? ICE is the natural conclusion of a system we've been creating for the last 25 years and more. They wear masks because there's no law saying they can't. That's why they're able to lie to people, lure them out like they did to that woman in Worcester, because it's part of their handbook. Literally, there is a section of their operations handbook written at least 15 years ago titled Ruses. All this bastard shit was in place for decades. All Trump had to do was say it's okay to do it more and to do it to innocent people.
Officers with the Department of Homeland Security recently attempted to enter elementary schools in Los Angeles, but were not allowed in. Agents claim to have been conducting a welfare check, not an immigration enforcement action. School administrators say DHS lied about having permission from caregivers to speak to students.
After being asked by the principals to provide some degree of identification, they did present credentials that identify them as agents of the Department of Homeland Security, which they went to great lengths to actually explain to the principals that they were not with ICE.
They're just showing up at elementary schools, lying and scaring everyone. Not exclusively because of some new thing Trump did, but from decades of reduced civil rights justified with imaginary terrorists. Except now, those terrorists are not Al-Qaeda, but vague fears about gangs. Or, as Trump said on the day he first announced his candidacy for president, Mexicans. Though some, of course, are good people, he assumed. You gotta assume, because there's no due process, so I guess you just have to assume. That superintendent goes on to say exactly what we're saying, which is that there's just no way that these people weren't also with ICE, because everyone is with ICE now, especially the agency in charge of ICE. Again, who is ICE besides those agents and those tendrils across all agencies? They're literal cops as well. They are everything we have deemed problematic or broken about our law enforcement, supercharged with a broad anti-terrorism mandate that allows them to ignore our rights. Literal cops. Thanks to one specific law, ICE has the ability to literally deputize local law enforcement for detainment operations. Did Trump make that law? No. Bush didn't even make it. That ability came from the fucking Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996, signed by the godless Democrat pervert Bill Clinton, with a statement that began with, quote, "This bill is good for America." Thanks, Bill. Your local cop had the ability to participate in the detainment of immigrants before ICE was even a glint in Trump's puffy little eye. If you're wondering why this wasn't talked about before, well, it turns out that the government didn't really take advantage of the program after it was revealed to be, bad. Because your local cop is a racist, you see. For example, when Joe Arpaio was caught profiling Latino men, he claimed he was doing it through this program. According to the ACLU, 2/3 of sheriffs involved in this partnership had a record of racial profiling and running detention facilities accused of abuse. But these days, ICE loves it now. They want to smooch it forever. Smooch it right on the tip. Tom Homan, your conservative uncle, who is apparently the current border czar, which is basically a fake job, wants to make it easier for ICE to recruit more cops by reducing the required training time. Oh good, that's what they need, less training. And again, this is all thanks to Bill Clinton, who then passed the torch to George W. Bush for a little more fascism, who passed the torch to Obama for a little more authoritarianism, but with more charisma, and finally to Trump to run with it. But not before Biden briefly grabbed that torch back and allowed 23 people to die in ICE detention centers during his term. Don't get me wrong, they're not all equally bad. And in fact, under Biden, it seemed that ICE was much more limited and even expressed frustration about that.
We don't do large-scale roundups. Every individual that's here today has come to our attention because they've been arrested by a local municipality.
Do you have enough resources to do this?
No, we don't. And that's one of the problems that, when jurisdictions don't cooperate with us, we have to go out into the community, which puts our officers at risk.
Oh my goodness, is that Todd? It is you! You were just some cop guy from Boston this whole time! That makes so much sense, Todd. Hey Todd, Worcester wants to have a word with you. How do you like them apples, Todd? I do not care for Todd, but I digress into Todd, who again is but a tiny little stormtrooper compared to the larger Death Star. What is ICE? It's just America, bro. It's the institutions we've given unchecked power to over the decades. The end result of the Patriot Act and our broken law enforcement system. And to truly abolish ICE, we'd need to abolish a lot more than some guy named Todd who sucks. Like Greg. We should probably take another break, but we have more ICE to discuss after that. Specifically, what the future holds for the agency. Unless we perhaps do something. But first, have these ads. Take them.
Eating. It's something we all have to learn how to do at some point. Am I right, Benny? Yeah. I mean, you can't get past 20, 25 tops via skin-to-skin nutrient osmosis alone. Come on, people. Eventually, you gotta eat something. Manja! And that something, for me, involves a Hungry Root. They take the stress out of mealtime by helping me personalize and plan my week of meals. And they can help you do it too. Whether you're gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein, or have previously subsisted exclusively on microbial salival synthesis. I said those words right. Hungry Root is like having a personal shopper and chef all in one. Kristen Stewart and Jon Favreau. What a deal! Seriously, guys. I genuinely love the food I get from Hungry Root. I look forward to my Hungry Root deliveries. The quality of the meals are top-notch, and they screen out a ton of the additives you never had to worry about in your nourishment cocoon. Perfect! So take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life of the subscription. Just go to hungryroot.com/SMN and use code SMN. That's hungryroot.com/SMN, code SMN to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for the life of the subscription you signed up for. hungryroot.com/SMN, code SMN. Let's try this again. Give me 5. Good boy. Look, I get it. You're busy. I mean, who isn't? What with building a full Goldilocks and the Three Bears house outside your own house to see if any bears show up. Something I'm sure we all do in the summertime. But when you are so busy, it's hard to deal with the stress of hair thinning and shedding. But lucky for me and all my fellow Goldilocks house hobbyists, there's Nutrafol, the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. I mean, you'll barely have time to finish cooking porridge at various temperatures. No. Okay, and you're not dealing with a one-size-fits-all approach. No, you are not. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages. So you can find the formulation that's just right. Yeah, just right for you. Get it, Goldilocks? Anyway, start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our audience $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code SMN. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com. Spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code SMN. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code SMN. It's spelled SMN. It's not smelled SMN. I can't stress that enough.
Hey, you want to watch stuff? You want to watch stuff after this stuff that you're watching? Well, after you're done watching the stuff here, you can go watch stuff there. Where the there is Pluto TV. They've got wall-to-wall action movies in a way that the place where you're currently doing the stuff watching does not. Action movies such as Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Stealth, Beverly Hills Cop, Four Brothers, Action Shack, Hot Plate Coming Through, Thumb Wars, the musical, Hot Plate Coming Too, The Grown-Up Man from Denver, The Velcro Boys, Hot Plate Bloodlines, and Good Burger. Don't do stuff, watch stuff. Never stop watching stuff at the stuff watching places. Bring the action with you and stream for free on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV, stream now. Pay never. 2.
Hey, everyone. Can I be serious for a minute? Cool. There's a group of school-age kids that won't stop performing newsies outside of my house. It's seriously starting to mess with me. But little do they know that my Simply Safe security system gives me peace of mind so that I know their stirring rendition of Carrying the Banner won't dance its way through my front door. Simply Safe has no contracts, no hidden fees, and is trusted by more than 4 million Americans. So, if you have newsies, or frankly, any musical being performed on a loop outside of your home by seemingly inexhaustible children, you are gonna want to get yourself some Simply Safe. Plus, they have a 60-day money-back guarantee, just in case the children scatter when you turn on the lights, or if you somehow develop a taste for the earworm that is Brooklyn's ear. How could you not? So, stop the presses and get 50% off your new Simply Safe system with professional monitoring and your first month free at simplysafe.com/more news. That is simplysafe.com/more news. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Sun sees the day, nothing ain't it, ain't it. Can you hear them? They're nonstop out there.
All right, hi, I guess. It's Cody, and we were discussing how ICE is ultimately the product of a system of police overreach that we've been building since even before 9/11. Because it sure is easier for the people in charge if everyone had no privacy or rights. I get it. You think I lord over my Minecraft villagers with aspirations for democracy? No, it gets real dark in Castle Cody. But here, in reality, it seems pretty bad if the system we're all used to is built on the gradual dismantling of civil liberties. Because that's the thing, we're used to it. If Trump has any positive talents, it's his ability to make evident that which was already there. He is so grotesque and loud in his terrible goals that, in pushing the limits of his power, he's exposing the seams that everyone ignored. He's the guy who makes the mall security guards realize that technically, there's no rule against skinny dipping in the fountain. This is all to say that Trump and ICE are quite horrifyingly working in tandem with a system that most Americans consider functional. So in order to disrupt or protest the things they are doing, you have to disrupt that system as well. But for most people, it's easier to simply allow this machine to keep moving, even if that machine churns out dead people as a byproduct or the main product. A pretty clear example is detention facilities. Migrant detention centers have been, even before ICE, notoriously terrible places. And no one really cared. I mean, most people don't seem to care that our prisons are, in general, terrible and ineffective for reform. That is the system in place. And so it's simply easier for that system to keep on keeping on. ICE is currently looking to expand their detainment abilities through contracts with private prison companies and local jails. And why wouldn't they oblige? Private prisons are there to make money. Not to mention that local jails also get paid by federal agencies like ICE and the U.S. Marshals Service to hold more people. Local police forces depend on that money. In Butler, Ohio, for example, they are now making money through a federal contract that pays $68 each day for each detainee, plus $36 an hour for transport. That contract is more valuable to them than the actual job of serving and protecting their community. How do I know that? Because Butler PD allowed ICE to arrest a father and son who were working construction in the jail. They were imprisoned in the same jail they were there to renovate for the police. And then the sheriff went on X, the everything app for groveling to the president, to boast about it.
They drove past the sign. They know who I am. They know what this is about. And we had 2 illegals that came into the jail. They had fake identification. You can't make this up. And it was done at the Butler County Jail. They came in, but this shows you the gall. They don't care. And for those of you that are listening, this is one of many. I've told you, we're getting the training. We're going to be able to do this very soon.
He thinks it's about gall? Like someone dared these 2 people to sneak in and do work for him? You know why they were there, Sheriff Mustache? Probably because they fucking needed the work and hoped, or maybe trusted, that their community wouldn't screw them over. And they were wrong. That Cohen Brothers ass sheriff even boasts that his cops will soon be doing what ICE did, punishing and detaining people who are just trying to work and help and exist in their cities and towns. That is horrifying and ghoulish, and also the system our government created. We have this fantasy of a small town that protects their own. Like, do you remember in Iron Man 3 when the lava lady pretends to be Homeland Security and flashes a badge, and the local sheriff actually challenges and tries to detain her?
Sheriff, is it?
Yes, ma'am, it is. And you are?
Homeland Security. We good here?
No, we're not good.
Yeah, that's a nice, beautiful lie. Would be neat if that happened, but the truth is that the sheriff in that scene would be right there next to the lava lady, doing lava crimes. That is the actual baseline for America. The fact that Trump is making billion-dollar deals with private prison companies like Core Civic and Geo Group to build migrant detention centers is just capitalism working. The fact that these private prisons have been described by a district judge as a hellhole filled with violence and suicide attempts doesn't matter. Because they also get to pay the detainees $1 a day for labor. And because someone decided that it's good for the local economy, even though studies show that to not be very true at all. Slave labor. We're rounding up people, splitting up their families, and making them do slave labor for us. And yet, when people protest this process, they are the disruption. And I guess that's true. We have to accept that in order to change this, we have to disrupt a system that some people think is working correctly and are comfortable with. But it is necessary and effective to be that disruption. Here is a news story out of Los Angeles from the beginning of June.
Glendale Police Department housing some undocumented immigrants at its jail. The reported action goes against California's sanctuary state rules that prohibits law enforcement from assisting in federal immigration enforcement.
According to city records from 2017, the federal government pays Glendale $85 per day for each ICE detainee temporarily housed here. In 2016, the city reported receiving just over $6,000 under that agreement, and either party can cancel the contract with 60 days notice.
That's right. It isn't just in small towns. The city of Glendale had a very similar contract with ICE that the police in Butler do. Theirs existed before Los Angeles became a sanctuary city. The only difference is that people spoke up about it, went to city council meetings, and then, right around the time the protests began, Glendale broke their contract with ICE. Did they want to do that? Absolutely not. In fact, the mayor of Glendale flat out said that they'd rather keep the contract with ICE, but felt pressure to break it. Good. The DHS assistant secretary is, of course, now accusing Glendale of siding with the criminals. Trump will probably weigh in and say we should nuke Glendale. People will want to punish the city and claim that they are encouraging lawlessness. From their computers in like rural Maine or whatever, Kristi Noem is clearly using these protests to plant the seeds for, I don't know, seems like they want to usurp the state of California. Sure would be useful for them considering the state's economy.
We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city.
Pretty chilling, especially considering what happens immediately after that.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
Lay flat, lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
That is, as I'm sure you heard about, a United States Senator, Alex Padilla, being pushed out and handcuffed for trying to ask Kristi Noem a question while she was up there musing about using the military to, big quotes, liberate Los Angeles from its leadership. By the way, he's not just a senator of the state they were in at the time, but he is also a ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee's subcommittee on immigration, citizenship, and border safety, which means he leads the consideration of immigration reform proposals as well as oversight of federal agencies with citizenship, asylum, refugee, and immigration enforcement responsibilities. Even if he didn't identify himself, which he did, she should know that guy. I know this all seems very big and very scary. I know that Trump probably wants any excuse he can get to declare a state of emergency in California. He wants us to feel scared about speaking out, to tell ourselves that it would be easier just to back off, lest the New York Times paint you as rude. But this is the right thing to do. We have to push the people in charge to put their asses on the line now, because very few of them will do it themselves. You know, unless they think it's good for them politically, which I guess it is. But if that's what it's gonna take for Gavin to take a break from his podcast to actually stand up for his citizens and sue Trump over deploying the National Guard, so be it, I guess. If it's going to take regular people standing in the street and saying no, then that's what it will have to take. Very few politicians are going to do the right thing unless we demand they do it. Period. Exclamation point. 100 emoji. Also a fern emoji to make it look nice. There are laws and levels of policing that we can, I guess, accept in order to maintain our society. And there are ones we cannot. And ICE is one we absolutely can't accept. We cannot accept under any circumstances a roving group of masked thugs kidnapping people off the streets, harassing schools and churches, lying about who they are and why they are there. Doesn't matter if they have a badge. ICE is butting into our lives to nobody's request, making everything worse and harder. Watching us, checking up with us, trying to play catch in the yard with us. I don't want a relationship, Greg. Get out of my fucking house, Greg. Greg is the ICE of my home, is my point. And the point of this video, which was always about Greg. So abolish Greg and ICE. If there's time. If there's only time for one, abolish Greg. No, I'm not talking about you. Greg, I was talking, it's a different Greg. He edits the show. I'm talking about him. No, don't touch my Nintendo! Hello there. Welcome to the end of the episode and the part where I say, thanks for watching. So, thanks for watching. It's also the part where I say, like and subscribe. So, like and subscribe. And so forth and so on. Leave a comment, do all the YouTube stuff. That'd be great, it really help us out. We've got a podcast called Even More News. You can watch it on this channel twice a week usually. You can also listen to this show, Some More News, as a podcast if you don't want to see me. And I'm over it if you don't. I'm dealing with it. We've got a patreon.com/somemorenews. You can help us out there. We've also got merch at a merch store with stuff on merch. Look at all that. Wow! So get out of my home now. Greg. The guy, not our editor. He can hang out. He's not here, but he can hang out if he wants. Mom, I need another sandwich!